And we are back on the Local Music Show, and I have a very, very special guest in here today with me. Now, my guest in today did a live session in Portsmouth, and to this day, I've done a lot of these. It's TV, it's interview, it's performances. The song he performed on that day is incredible. I added it. I've got a sneak preview before everyone else did, so I put it away, I hid it, I listened to it a lot. My guest today is the lovely George Bone. George, how are you today?
Bless you. That's a very nice introduction. Yeah, I'm good, man. How about you?
I'm very well. I think everyone in the office is bored of me playing it at this point.
That is terrifying. just to be like, I mean, as we're recording it, the song is out on Friday the 24th of November, and I'm objectively terrified for it. But the fact that everyone else is just sort of like, oh, okay, we've been listening to it, it's great. I'm like, don't say that. I'm going to get a big ego from that. Don't do that.
I absolutely love it. And it's, you know, I go to a lot of live performances, and it's the one song that, you know, it's great when I walk out and I've only heard it once and I'm singing it.
You get to sing it over and over again.
Yeah,
literally, as I was walking here, my friend Drew messaged me just to be like, hey, I know it's out on Friday, but the stuff you've been putting out on TikTok about it, just like that one chorus is just like really, really well written. And I don't take compliments very well, so I'm just like, oh, thank you. Still nervous about the release, but it means a lot that you like it. Insert other generic message here. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird feeling to have that sort of period of knowing that it's about to be released and scared for it, because it is my debut solo single that's coming out, but for it to have this much hype, it means a lot, so I'm very grateful.
So we're going to play Valencia in a little bit to the people at home, and then we're going to talk about it afterwards. But for the people that have not heard of George Bone, talk to me. What are you about? What influences do you have, and how's 2023 been for you?
Yeah, so as you know, my name is George Bone. I'm a singer, songwriter, producer and arranger. I went to my undergrad doing a lot of classical stuff, but at the moment I'm doing a lot of commercial music production, so stuff I'm very inspired by people like Bruno Major, Conor Albert, Eloise, Jacob Collier, so like indie jazz, lo-fi pop essentially. So almost like country meets south of the River Thames essentially. So I try and get a lot of like indie samples and like sort of DIY feel into my music, but also I need to make it pop as much as I possibly can. And 2023 has been really, really busy for me. I played a lot of headline shows, not only here in Portsmouth, but across the country as well. I've supported a load of really, really cool acts as well. Molly Hocking, who won the UK Voice in 2019. I supported her in March, and a guy called Andrew Cushion, who at the time had just come off of supporting the first half of Louis Tomlinson's world tour. He had an album release in Newcastle, and I performed up there for him. That was really, really cool just to experience being in that environment and taking that next step in my musicianship. And 2024 is just looking so much brighter from there, so I'm super excited to have this stuff out on Spotify that people can be like, hey, I like this guy, I want to listen to him more, where can I find his shows?
It's a real vibe. Now, George, I've kind of seen you in Portsmouth, I've seen you play in London as well.
Yes.
It's incredible. That kind of niche you're working in, it is a vibe, and it's really kind of lovely on the ears to listen to when I'm out and about driving or I'm working. And people who are fans of the show, they love Rhea Handley. Now, you've got a bit of a connection with Rhea, haven't you?
Yeah, so Rhea actually helped write this song that you're about to listen to right now. I met Rhea at a songwriting camp at Talyard Studios in London, which is about a 50-minute walk north of King's Cross Station. And we got on really, really well from the first moment that we met each other. We were both grown up on country music, and she obviously still writes and performs a lot of her own country stuff, and so we got writing from there. The song that you're about to hear, I wrote the chorus for it in September, in the city that it's named after, and had been sort of wanting to write a verse for it for ages, but it wasn't until Rhea stepped along just to be like, hey, do you have any stuff that you need finishing? I need help with the end of my Leaper stuff. And I was like, oh, I've got something for you that might possibly do it. And then by the end of that 2-hour initial session, we'd finished both of the verses. We'd finished the pre-choruses as well. Oh, that's my alarm going off. We finished both the pre-choruses and stuff like that as well. So it just ended up being, a really, really good show in the end. And I'm super happy with how it went out. Yeah, just a beautiful occasion.
Amazing. So, for everyone listening at home, this is new. This might be a radio exclusive, George.
Radio exclusive, 100%.
Fantastic here on the Local Music Show. So, this is George Bone with his song Valencia. So that was Valencia. Now, George, talk to me about that song. Set the picture for me.
Yeah, so my friend Josh, who was studying at Berklee College of Music at the time, he was doing a semester out in the European campus in Valencia, and we're both big football fans, and we've been friends for a good 6-7 years up until that point. So we was like, hey, why don't you want to? We've got a spare bed in our place that we're staying at in Berklee. Do you want to come over to Valencia for a weekend? We'll watch a football match. You can go for a party here. How's about that? And I was like, I first had to look at flight costs, and it was like £32 for a return flight from Stansted, and I'm like, absolutely, I will waste my money on that. Really, really good weekend. And by the time we got to that party, it was on top of his flat complex, and one side of the flat complex was this beautiful, scenic, lit up view of the old town of Valencia, and then the other half was the strip down the side of the Mediterranean and the beaches and the nightlife down there and stuff like that. And it was so beautiful. And at that point in time, I'd just come off of a long-term relationship, and in that I'm single, let's travel Europe era, and it just so happened that at that point in time, I was like, oh, I love having this view. I just wish I had someone to share this with. And that was the entire point of the song, really. The next day in my hostel that I was staying at, I didn't really see much of the city. I ended up going out with him for breakfast, then spent the afternoon writing it in my hostel. And I'm so glad that was the correct decision at the end of the day, because it came out with this really, really pretty song, and some of my best lyricism that I'd written was done in that session. And I only had a day left there, so diamonds were made under pressure. But I was so happy with the way it came out, and hopefully you can hear that in the song.
It's an absolutely incredible song. Now, when we've had musicians on in the past, the song is the greatest asset.
Yeah.
It always is, will always be. The thing that a lot of musicians can't decide on, which is a bit controversial, is what's a close second. Is promoting it on social media a second, or is it playing live a second? Because in the day, everyone would go, play live, get in front of people. That is now how you promote your music.
Yeah.
With the transition into social media now, a lot of artists are thinking, no, it's much more important to get the fan base online, which would then lead to live shows. What's your personal opinion on that?
I mean, I've worked in both sides of the industry to give a good example of why both would be good. Obviously, independent musician now have to be on a lot of social media platforms, and social media has taken up a large majority of my life, and a lot of people who are listening to my music for the first time are listening to it from my social media profiles. And that's been a lot better in the last year in 2023. But I worked as an intern for a company called Talent Bank, based at Talyard Studios in 2022. And basically their motto was it's all about live. We don't really care about social media. You need to see it live and in person. They wouldn't even promote music online. They would be we'll promote this artist in person. You've just got to go get your butt down and see them. Very much old school. We're promoting events through Facebook. We're promoting... essentially. And I see where they lie as well, because especially for those artists, the type that they had on their roster, that worked a lot better seeing them live, and a lot of first point of contact, hand-to-hand engagement was done through those live shows. And as someone who took photos for those live events and did all, ironically, the social media for those live events, you could see how powerful being live was in person. So I don't sadly have an answer to that, but it's very much who you ask and what position you're in. At the moment, for me as a singer-songwriter, it's better to do a lot of stuff on social media and then focus on live shows when you have stuff to put out. That being said, if you've already got a big roster of things, you might as well keep making things live, because it's the way to make money, sadly. It's the only way that people are going to see you.
It's where artists now on the forefront of earning money, isn't it? Because you've taken it from streams and the royalties, so it is playing live, which is important.
100.
But that power of social media and building that fan base is just critical.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely necessary for any artist to have in their arsenal. Yeah.
For anyone listening at home, whether they're a musician or they're just a music lover, George, they've just listened to Valencia, they've adored it. What is coming up for 2024 where these people can interact and come and see you? Yeah,
so 2024, I've already got booked a live band event that I'm headlining at Notting Hill Arts Club on January the 30th. I've got a load of festivals that I've applied for that are looking to be either supporting or headlining in the next year. I've got at least 2 or 3 songs that are definitely coming within that period of time. Hopefully something bigger to announce towards the end of 2024, but at the moment just single by single basis. yeah, I'm a function musician as well as a singer-songwriter as well, so I perform at a lot of places around the country wherever I'm needed. Pizza Express have their own record label, and they have loads of stores that they have me perform around. In August, I was in Brighton, in the Brighton Marina, doing some performances for them, and I think it was the last day that they were doing these live sets, and it was like James Bay and some members of McFly were doing an acoustic thing, and then like 2 hours later I was like, oh, you're on, George. I was like, haha, what? But yeah, so you can see me here, there and everywhere, but I'll be obviously announcing it on my socials, and if you meet me in person at the gig on January 30th, come say hi. Amazing.
So everyone listening at home, George Bow Music, Spotify, social media, get on it. Thank you so much for coming in today, George, and thank you so much for a beautiful song, and I hope you've enjoyed it at home.
Absolute pleasure.
You turn my skies into a corner from my blue, and be the one to stay with